Hello and welcome to another macro video. Well, I suppose it's not really a macro video as such because it's more general than that. It's about that horrible phrase Word not responding that we see sometimes and seems to indicate that Word is about to crash. Well, don't panic, it's not necessarily going to crash, and I want to see if I can help today. So what I want to do first of all is to try and give you some sort of background to the problem, what's causing the problem, and that will help us to, I've said, appreciate Word's needs. In other words, if we know what's going on and why, then maybe we can avoid it happening, avoid it actually crashing. And finally, I've just got a few practical hints and tips that might help in avoiding the problem. Okay, so oh yes, this video is, as I say, is a sort of general one, and there's going to be a part 2 which is specifically for macro users, because unfortunately Word, when Word is running macros, it becomes more likely that it will crash than in just sort of normal run-of-the-mill work. Okay, so let's have a look at the background to the problem. The way I express it is that Microsoft tells us that Word is getting better all the time. In other words, they're adding more features, but unfortunately that means there's more bloat, as I've called it. In other words, there's more for it to do all the time, even if you're not actually using the features. They're there and they can get in the way. So the computer processor can struggle to keep up with all that's going on, and that means that there is an increased possibility that Word will crash, and macros are going to make it worse. So that's because they're using up the processor time, and we can look at that in the next part of the video. Okay, so I've got 3 questions. What causes Word to crash? And indeed, has it crashed? It may look as if it has, but that's not necessarily the case. So we would like to know what's going on, and obviously the most important thing is how can we avoid crashes. We don't want it to crash. So the general principle definitely is to be patient. Okay, Word seems to have stopped. So what do? You start clicking. What's going on? What's going on? You start clicking the screen. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. I say to people, sit on your hands. I know it's very difficult to resist the urge. It's not working. It's not responding. So, of course, you try and click on the screen to see what's going on. But let me assure you that every click makes it worse. Okay, why? Well, every time you click on the screen, it interrupts Word. In other words, Word has to respond. There's been a click. That might mean that Word's got to do something. So it tries to deal with that click on the screen that you've made. And it demands a response. And every key click also interrupts Word, although less so. Okay, so if we're to understand and appreciate Word's needs, i.e. how to help it along, we need to know what happens when it's saying Word not responding. So what does that actually mean? Well, I'd like to say that it's not actually not responding. It means it can't respond at the moment. So I suppose what it's saying is, please stop clicking, I'll deal with it in a minute. But why is it not responding? So we need to understand the principle of what's going on in the background, as it were. What is Word doing and why? So one way I can demonstrate this is by loading a file. And it's a big file. It's the file of all 1100 macros, or the code of all the macros. It's this one here, the macros all. It's 1.8 megabytes, which is not really that massive. My book, the Computer Tools for Editors, that's 3.6 megabytes. So okay, so let's open that. We click open, and down at the bottom we get a bar showing us the progress of the loading. So it's loading the 1.8 megabytes, but it's taking it takes about 12 seconds, I think I timed it earlier. When it's available, it comes up on screen, and what I'm going to do is click down, Control End, to go to the end of the document. So up it comes, and I press Control End, and here's the wait icon. So what's going on? What's going on? Click. What's going on? Click. Up. Now it starts saying that Word is not responding, but it is responding, but it's asking me to wait, please. So wait. Don't click the screen, and then there it is. It's come back. It's responded to the bottom. So that's a principle illustrated for you. So what's it doing? It's actually checking all the paragraphs, every single paragraph. Now that's 1100 macros, and that is actually 91,000 paragraphs in inverted commas. In other words, each line of text of a program is a paragraph. And what Word has to do is to go down through all those paragraphs and work out how to display those display that text on the screen, so that if you make any changes to the text, Word can then redisplay the text in response to the changes you've made. So to get ahead of itself, it looks at all the paragraphs, works out what's in there and how to display it on the screen. So it needs to do that for every single line or paragraph, if you like, in the whole document. And an important principle there is that track changes make it worse, because you don't just have to display the text on the screen. Word has to display all the markers that show the track changes, the stuff in red and the lines and the bubbles and all that sort of thing. So it's more work if there's more track changes, and as you add more text, you add track changes, and therefore there's more to be displayed. So let's have some advice. General advice one is obvious. You do have to wait, but clues, well, is the cursor flashing? If it is, then it looks as if it's all good. But if it's not flashing, what do you do? What I would do is just click the down arrow key, because when you click the down arrow key, you can see a movement. I click down, and I can see, but it's not. One key click is not a lot of work for Word to deal with, so just do a down arrow click, but only once. But if there isn't a flashing cursor, what do you do? Well, with some large files, the cursor actually may be invisible in certain conditions. So again, don't panic, but just try the down arrow key and see what that shows. But again, click it only once. Second bit of advice, give Word less work to do. In other words, simply keep the file size down. Avoid large files if you possibly can, especially if you're using track changes. Or I suppose you can give Word more power to do the work you're asking of it, which means buying a more powerful computer, but obviously the money isn't always unlimited. Well, money is never unlimited, really. Anyway, okay, yeah. So avoid large files, and I would say, if you're editing books, then edit them as individual chapter files. I just think it's so much safer. There's so much less chance of Word getting itself all tied in a knot and getting corruption within the files if the files aren't so big. And apart from anything else, if you're an editor using Fredit, it's much more efficient to deal with a number of smaller files, and you can gradually improve your editing speed as you go through using Fredit. My third, it's not advice really, it's just a hint. Sometimes it really does look as if Word has crashed, and there's no flashing cursor, and you try the down arrow click, then it seems to have died on you. Okay, one thing worth trying is to open the Task Manager, and for PC users that's Control-Alt-Delete, and for Macs it's Command-Option-Escape. So maybe it has stalled. Well, if you do, I'll do Control-Alt-Delete, it disappears, and I run the task manager, and here it comes. So you can just about, it's jumping around, but you should see Word is in there somewhere. Word is operating. It doesn't say that Word is stalled, so that's good news. If it's not saying that it's stalled, then actually sometimes just by opening and then closing the task manager, that can actually flip it back and get it going again. So I believe in miracles. It does happen sometimes. When it seems to have crashed, load up the task manager, close it, and sometimes that does it. Well, that's it for now. I'll come back later with some stuff to do with avoiding crashes for macros. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.